Ever since 1994, Sony's PlayStation's been making a name for itself when it comes to great consoles and exclusives. Considering the brand will be 30 years old next year, it's had its fair share of cancelled, prototype, and unreleased games. In today's video, I'll be showcasing PlayStation lost media. These range from cancelled exclusives, ports, unreleased titles, and forgotten media. To kick things off, let's start with the most recent console, the PlayStation 5. Now, the PS5 is still very new and many cases of lost media still does not exist, nor has been discussed to the public as of yet. However, we do have one case of lost media already on the PlayStation 5. Redfall is a first-person live service shooter created by Arkane Austin. Arkane Studios is best known for the Dishonored series, while Arkane Austin is best known for the underrated Prey reboot. Anyways, Redfall was originally to be released on the PlayStation 5 alongside with the Xbox and PC port. This all changed in 2021 when Microsoft acquired Bethesda. You see, Arkane was under Bethesda as a publisher. When the deal went through, Microsoft ordered Arkane Austin to cancel the PlayStation 5 version as they wanted Redfall to be released exclusively on their own platform. No actual footage of this version exists to my knowledge, but is considered lost as we had no additional information besides the fact that it was cancelled. Now let's dive into the PlayStation 4. Deep Down was a single-player / cooperative multiplayer dungeon crawler created by Capcom. Originally shown at the PlayStation meeting event in February 2013, which also was the first public announcement of the PlayStation 4, it was praised for showing next-gen graphics at its time. Gameplay was to be very similar to Capcom's other title, Dragon's Dogma, with some Demon Souls thrown into the mix. The game's producer, Yoshinori Ono, is known for his work on the Street Fighter and various other Capcom IPs, was to be involved in this project. However, aside from various gameplay clips uploaded onto YouTube, the game was never released on the PlayStation 4, despite Capcom's numerous reassurances to the public that it was still in development. Turns out, Deep Down suffered from development hell. Development hell is when a game's development is prolonged or suffers from delayed timelines. This could be for a whole host of reasons, from conflicting game design choices, lack of vision, or even restarting development in some cases. Unfortunately, this caused the cancellation for Deep Down, as in April 2020, reported by Video Games Chronicle, the game was near complete but was ultimately canned. As of 2023, there is no additional information on the game or any sort of leaked builds to see what this game could have been. Gotham Knights is a third-person action-adventure game released by WB Montreal. Released in 2022, the game was supposed to be launched on both the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. However, the PS4 and Xbox One port of this game was cancelled due to performance issues and not meeting their standards. This was probably the best move, as the PS5 and Series X versions were both capped at 30 FPS at launch and had performance issues on their own. Still though, I would have loved to see how this version of this game looked prior to cancellation. PT/Slient Hills. Revealed at Gamescom 2014, PT was a psychological horror game developed by Kojima Productions. At the time of development, Hideo Kojima, known for the creation of the Metal Gear franchise, directed this project with the movie director Guillermo del Toro behind it. PT centers on an unnamed protagonist who wakes up in a concrete-lined room and opens a door to a haunted corridor. From here, the player walks through a hallway which is continuously looping and redecorating itself. This game is best known for its eerie, unique approach to horror. Unlike many other horror titles that use graphic violence or pop-up scares, PT relied more on psychological horror that got to the player in different ways. PT dropped as a free downloadable in August of 2014 as a playable teaser for the then upcoming game Slient Hills, starring the Walking Dead actor Norman Reedus. However, this was not to be. In April of 2015, word broke out that Slient Hills was cancelled. On April 25, 2015, Sony removed PT from the PlayStation Network. Although PT is still accessible through the means of jailbreaking your PlayStation 4, for the average consumer, this is considered partially lost, as there's no other way to play PT on a base PlayStation 4. Slient Hills is considered lost media, as aside from a trailer, we didn't see any additional gameplay or have any additional insight onto what the game could have been. Now let's revisit the PS Triple, Saints Row 2006. Saints Row 1 is an open-world third-person action-adventure game released by Volition. Volition is best known for the Red Faction series, that cool Punisher game, and of course, the Saints Row franchise. Saints Row 1 was originally launched on the Xbox 360 in August of 2006. Volition's publisher THQ announced the PlayStation 3 version was in development, only to have THQ backtrack on the statement 3 months later, stating that the port was actually cancelled, with THQ wanting to focus on Saints Row 2. The PlayStation 3 version was not only to receive improved visuals, but have additional content that the 360 version did not have at the time. However, sometime after the cancellation, the exclusive PlayStation 3 content was eventually added as DLC to the 360 version. Aside from screenshots in the independent PlayStation magazine, no actual PlayStation 3 footage was ever shown of this game. If you'd like to learn more about the history of this cancellation, I highly recommend watching Mr. Saint's Godzilla 21's video covering this port. The Getaway 3. The Getaway was an action-adventure open-world franchise created by Team Soho, now known as London Studios. In 2005, Team Soho showed off the PlayStation 3 tech demo, showcasing London's Piccadilly Circus, rendered using the PlayStation 3's hardware. Although this was just a tech demo, many speculated that the third entry would be set in London. There was also rumors it could include Amsterdam to an extent. The only other time the project was talked about past E3 2006 was in March of 2008, when the screenplay writer Katie Elwood confirmed that the title was still in the works, with word that Sony might make even a movie adaptation to the game as well. However, this was short-lived, as in June of 2008, the project was reported as cancelled along with another game on this list. There was an additional report 1 year later in October of 2009 that the game was not cancelled, rather on hold. Since then, we have not heard anything from this project or know any additional information on it. There was gameplay that was leaked in 2016 that supposedly was Getaway 3. Sony, however, never commented on this leaked footage or confirmed if it was still in development or not. 8 Days. 8 Days was a third-person action-adventure game originally showcased at Sony's E3 2005 and E3 2006 showcase. Considered one of the highlights of the E3 2006 showcase, it showed off some impressive set pieces with a cinematic movie-style focus that many games at the time strived to achieve. Developed also by London Studios, the game was first revealed as an unnamed tech demo, later on given the name 8 Days. Like the name entails, it was set over a period of 8 days, with the player choosing between two different characters, which were referred as good or bad. The game also would have taken place across 8 different states across the United States, with different branching storylines depending on which character you choose. The good character was a detective determined to find the mob syndicate who kidnapped his son, while the bad character was plotting revenge on the same mob syndicate. At one point in the game, they cross paths and decide to hunt the mob down together. Like the Getaway 3, this game was cancelled in June of 2008. Basically, Sony didn't see a future in 8 days. 2 weeks after this news, PlayStation's president, Shuei Yoshida, revealed that the lack of the online mode in 8 days was part of the consideration to cancel this project. Back then, a lot of people were skeptical if the gameplay shown was legit or just CGI. It almost looked way too good to be true, and just seemed like the game was very polished for a tech demo. Regardless, no gameplay or builds have surfaced of this game, with just the E3 presentations being the only glimpse we had of 8 days. Coded Arms Assault. Coded Arms Assault was supposed to be a third entry in the Coded Arms franchise, to launch exclusively on the PlayStation 3. Developed by Konami, Coded Arms is a first-person shooter that was originally started on the PlayStation Portable. Shown at E3 2006, the game was supposed to be unconnected from the first 2 entries in the franchise and not use any pre-rendered cutscenes. Rather, the game would opt for in-game ones, which games like Half-Life 2 at the time pioneered. According to Konami, the plot focused on you as a skilled hacker hired to steal data from the Ashirara Corporation, which was located in a VR world. There was a planned multiplayer mode, where up to 16 players in Team Deathmatch capture of flag modes, as well as a cooperative experience. Demoed at Tokyo Game Show in 2006, various press outlets had a chance to play this game, with IGN being the one who enjoyed the most. Others, on the other hand, weren't as enthusiastic, with Joystick flat out roasting the game. They mentioned it suffered from a jerky frame rate, very long load times, and unresponsive camera controls. This is to be expected for an in-development game, however, as polish and refinements tend to happen near the end of development. It was stated in September 2006 that the game was between 40 to 50% complete, however that was the last mention of this project. Since then, no gameplay outside the media personnel or builds have appeared on the internet. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, missing DLC. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was a beat-em-up fighting game inspired by Smash Bros. Released on the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita. Developed by the now defunct Superbot Studios, the game took the formula that Smash Bros. Made famous by adding PlayStation characters into the mix. The game was met with a mixed reception at launch, but it's regarded as a solid game by most fans. PlayStation All-Stars, however, was supposed to get DLC for the game that never did come out. Before the studio was shut down, they planned on releasing 4 additional characters in one stage. They originally wanted to add characters from The Legend of Dragoon, Abe from Oddworld, Ryo Hayabusa from the Ninja Gaiden series, and Tumituma from the Tumituma games. Santa Monica Studios, known today for God of War Ragnarok, was working as a support studio on the game. Santa Monica Studios was planning on finishing the DLC that Superbot had worked on, however due to the dwindling player base for PlayStation All-Stars and the PS4 on the horizon, it was axed. Aside from some photos, there's no other information on the DLC or builds of it, and is considered lost in 2023. Now let's cover the PSP/PlayStation Vita. Bioshock PlayStation Vita. Bioshock is a first-person shooter with a narrative-focused game design, most known for its ability to mesh gameplay and storytelling well. During E3 2021, Ken Levine, the creative director behind the franchise, took the stage and announced that a spin-off exclusive PlayStation Vita Bioshock game was in the works. He described it like the following: "It is a different project. It's its own thing being built from the ground up, that it's going to be strange and surprising to people. I think we always wanted to surprise people. If I'm up here saying here's Bioshock 1 in the Vita, that's something we could potentially do, but you don't need us to do that. Somebody can already make that happen." After this announcement, no information, screenshots, or gameplay was ever revealed. Irrational Games, the development studio behind the Bioshock series, a few years later, suffered from layoffs, which many consider is when the project was actually cancelled. Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. While we're on the topic of first-person shooters, Battlefield 2 Modern Combat, a long-forgotten entry in the popular military first-person shooter franchise. It was a spin-off of Battlefield 2, released exclusively on consoles. During development, there was a planned port for the PlayStation Portable. However, prior to the Xbox 360's release of the game, the port was cancelled. This is notable as this would have been one of the first examples of a Battlefield game released on a portable platform. No screenshots, gameplays, or even articles detailing the port was ever revealed as well. Painkiller Hell Wars, PlayStation Portable Port. Painkiller Hell Wars is a first-person shooter released by Flying Hog Studios. Painkiller is a franchise known for its fast-paced arena action. There was to be a Painkiller Hell Wars port released on the PlayStation Portable at one point. According to a listing I found on GameSpy, it was to carry over what the console version offered, including its Havoc's 2.0 physics engine. Although no reason was given publicly on the cancellation, it's more likely to be cancelled due to the hardware limitations of the PlayStation Portable. Not to mention, the controls on the PSP made any FPS game feel more awkward and difficult than actually accessible. Still though, I would love to see this port service one day just to see how far they got with it. FarCry's cancelled PlayStation Portable port. FarCry is a franchise created originally by Crytek, then handed over to Ubisoft. The series is known for its open-world, first-person action-adventure style. In 2006, there was the development of a PSP FarCry between 1 and 2. Developed by Ubisoft Montreal, little details were shared about this project, outside of a leak that confirmed its existence back then. It was never announced by Ubisoft, and it was speculated it was cancelled early on in production. No actual gameplay details surfaced, nor any screenshots, but it's fair to say given the PlayStation Portable hardware, it'd be more likely a different game than the upcoming Far Cry 2 at the time. Destroy All Humans Big Willy Unleashed PlayStation Portable and PS2 port. Destroy All Humans Big Willy Unleashed was a Wii exclusive spin-off to the popular 2000s Destroy All Humans franchise. Developed by Locomotion Games, it is a third-person action-adventure game where you play as an alien doing alien things to humans. According to an interview with the game's producer Ken Allen, in late 2006, work started on a PSP Destroy All Humans game. Not long into development, THQ, Locomotion's publisher at the time, had asked to do a Wii game. Considering the Wii was starting to get very popular at this time, the team decided to focus on the Wii game and cancel the PSP version. The game was originally built with a PSP in mind, but when it was brought over to the Wii, various changes had to be made. One of them being the graphics engine being upscaled to the Wii's resolution. Since this was originally a PSP game, this meant that the visuals did not look nearly as good as the previous entries in the franchise. It was stated that there was a PS2 version in development as well, but due to the lack of memory and limitations of the PlayStation 2 hardware, it would mean they would look worse than the Wii version. The most that was done on the PS2 port was a menu in one level that ran very badly, according to Ken Allen. Both the PS2 port and the original PSP version are considered lost. Now let's dive into the PlayStation 2. Aliens Colonial Marines is a first-person shooter based on the movie franchise, originally released by Gearbox Software in 2012. Known for being considered one of the worst games of 2012, Colonial Marines suffered from a very long development cycle with various reboots and changes throughout it. However, one of the earliest builds of the game was on the PS2. Announced by EA in May of 2001 and developed by Fox Interactive, this version of the Colonial Marines story would have taken the player and a squad of Marines to investigate the disappearance of the 2nd Battalion Bravo team. The game was cancelled in May of 2002, with only screenshots of the game being showcased at E3 2001. Although no reason was given publicly regarding its cancellation, many sources collaborated due to its technical issues being the main reason of the cancellation. Halo CE PlayStation 2 port. Halo is a first-person action-adventure game released in 2001 by Bungie. During its development, the game originally was targeting a Macintosh release, with a multi-platform launch as well in the cards too, with Rockstar Games publishing the title. However, when Microsoft purchased Bungie, the port was eventually cancelled, with the focus being a launch title on the upcoming Xbox console. There is gameplay that IGN uploaded with it supposedly being the PlayStation 2 version. I say supposedly as there's conflicting reports that it was actually the PC version, with the PlayStation 2 version actually never existing in the first place. I couldn't get a straight answer on this one, so it may or might not have been a thing at all. To finish this list off, let's talk about the PlayStation 1 now. Quake 1's PlayStation 1 port. Quake is a first-person shooter created by id Software. Known for its fast-paced first-person arena-style gameplay, Quake was considered a demanding game at the time of its launch in 1996. What many people do not know, however, is Quake originally had a PlayStation 1 port in the cards. The port was originally done by Lobotomy Software. It would have been ported from the Sega Saturn version of the game, with a target of 30 FPS and offer a better color output than the Saturn. Reports go the development got up to a tech demo without the game actually getting ported. During the time of development, they struggled to find a publisher to publish the game, leading to the cancellation of the project. Lobotomy ended up porting Quake 2, however, to the PlayStation 1, which did get released, and is regarded as a technical feat on the PlayStation 1 as well. Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood on the PlayStation 1. Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood was a working title for the Beavis and Butthead video game that was never released on the PlayStation 1. Based on the popular MTV show in the 90s, Beavis and Butthead's plot was to be a continuation after the movie Do America, with the boys just finishing up their newest Hollywood movie. The two soon realize they have no money, and this is where the adventure begins. The gameplay would have focused on small stages with a serious set of puzzles that the player had to solve, with the ability to control either Beavis or Butthead. Announced at E3 1998, it showed Beavis and Butthead walking around a town, and Butthead having the ability to slap Beavis just like in the show. This build was clearly very early, as later screenshots released in magazines showcase improved graphics that match the show's aesthetic. In 1998's EGM magazine article covering the game, it was reported that it was at least 40% done, with a release date of February 1999. 1 month later, Game Informer's magazine stated the game was 80% complete, with a release date being of November 1998. Both November 1998 and February 1999 came and went with no word of the game past that point. No further information regarding this game was ever announced, essentially vanishing off the face of the earth. There was gameplay that was uploaded in 2014 of the 1998 E3 gameplay that was showcased. However, to this day, there's no builds or any additional insight during development, and we likely won't ever know this. And that, guys, was PlayStation Lost Media. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, I know I missed some games on this list, however, they'll be featured in later videos in this series. If you enjoy my style of content in this video, please consider giving me a subscription or leaving a like. But until next time, guys, peace.